Legend says Rome began in 753 BC, when Romulus killed his twin brother Remus and named a small hilltop village after himself. For centuries, Rome was a republic, ruled by senators, and its legions marched outward until the whole Mediterranean answered to one city. Then Julius Caesar seized power, and after his murder, his heir Augustus became the first emperor in 27 BC. The republic was gone. 200 years of peace followed. Roads, aqueducts, and cities spread across 3 continents, and Rome itself grew to 1 million people. But the empire grew too vast to hold. Plague, invasion, and civil war tore its frontiers until it split in 2. In 476, the last Western emperor fell, yet its laws, language, and roads still shape our world. But in the East, Rome refused to die. From Constantinople, emperors still called themselves Roman, ruling in unbroken succession. The Emperor Justinian gathered 1,000 years of Roman law into a single code that still shapes courtrooms today. His architects raised Hagia Sophia, a dome that seemed to float, proof that Roman engineering had found a new home. Justinian's generals even won back Italy and Africa for a time, stitching lost provinces onto the imperial map once more. Slowly, the East grew Greek in speech, yet Roman in name, guarding the old ways behind the walls of Constantinople. For another 1,000 years, this Eastern Rome endured, a bridge carrying the ancient world into the Middle Ages. Meanwhile, in the West, a new power rose from Rome's streets, a faith once persecuted beneath the emperors: Christianity. The Bishop of Rome became a shepherd for the whole Latin West, and people began to call him the Pope. In quiet monasteries, monks copied ancient books by hand, keeping Latin learning alive as kingdoms rose and fell outside. Old temples lent their columns to new basilicas, marble taken from the past to build a sacred future. Latin remained the language of prayer, of scholarship, and of law, spoken in cloisters long after the legions had vanished. Rome itself changed. No longer capital of an empire, it became a holy city, drawing pilgrims instead of armies. The Colosseum held houses and workshops, and theatres became fortresses. On Christmas Day in the year 800, the Pope crowned Charlemagne emperor, and the idea of Rome was reborn. For centuries, German kings would carry the title Holy Roman Emperor, a paper crown cut from an ancient memory. Pilgrim roads converged on the city from every direction, following the same stones once marched by the legion. Within the walls, noble families raised towers and fought for the ruins, a small city living among giant bones. Rome was no longer an empire, but an idea, waiting for someone to look at the ruins with new eyes. In the Renaissance, scholars unearthed forgotten manuscripts, and the voices of Cicero and Virgil spoke to Italy once again. Artists climbed through the ruins with sketchbooks, measuring arches and columns, learning perspective from broken stone. Over the tomb of St. Peter, a new basilica rose for more than a century, crowned by Michelangelo's soaring dome. Popes and princes rebuilt the city with palaces, fountains, and piazzas, quoting ancient Rome in every arch and column. The shapes of antiquity became a language of art, spreading from Rome to palaces and churches across all of Europe. Humanists placed people at the center of learning, measuring the world with tools the ancients had first imagined. In the Age of Enlightenment, scholars returned with rulers and notebooks, measuring every ruin and questioning every legend. Young travellers on the Grand Tour crossed Europe to stand in the Forum, finishing their education among fallen columns. Archaeologists peeled back the earth layer by layer, and buried streets, villas and temples returned to the light. Rome's republic became a lesson in liberty. Revolutionaries in America and France borrowed its senates, its symbols, and its warnings. New capitals and courthouses rose across the world wearing Roman dress, with domes, columns, and marble porches. Citizenship, republic, senate, and veto, the very vocabulary of modern politics, arrived speaking Latin, carried from an ancient forum. Italy itself, though, remained a patchwork of small states, and patriots began to dream of one nation with Rome as its heart. Volunteers in red shirts marched behind Garibaldi, stitching the peninsula together piece by piece in a struggle called the Risorgimento. In 1870, Italian soldiers breached the walls of Rome, and the Eternal City joined the young kingdom of Italy. Rome became a capital once more, its old palaces filling with ministries, parliaments, and the machinery of a modern state. New avenues were cut through medieval quarters, and a growing city wrapped itself around the ancient monuments. The new nation dressed itself in old symbols, the she-wolf and the eagle, a borrowed grandeur that carried a hidden danger. In the 1920s, fascism seized Italy, and Mussolini claimed the ancient empire as the mask for modern dictatorship. Uniform rows marched beneath the fasces, the old symbol of authority twisted into an instrument of fear. Propaganda promised a new Roman Empire, mapping conquests across the sea while shadows lengthened at home. The regime carved parade routes through ancient neighborhoods, demolishing homes to stage its theater of imperial power. Then war came, and the borrowed grandeur burned, leaving torn banners, broken facades, and grieving cities. The imperial myth collapsed in ruin, a warning that Rome's memory can crown liberty or excuse tyranny. In 1946, Italians voted to become a republic, choosing ballots over crowns beneath the old marble. Rome rebuilt itself, scaffolding rising beside ancient walls as a war-worn city returned to life. Its streets became a film set for the world, and the city of emperors learned to play itself on screen. Millions now walk the Forum every year, museums guarding in glass what soldiers once carried as plunder. Archaeologists still work beneath the pavement, where every metro tunnel and cellar touches another buried century. Ancient stones stand in the middle of daily life, traffic circling the Colosseum like a river around a rock. It's law, whose principles of contract, property and justice still order modern courts. Its language never died but multiplied, becoming Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese and Romanian, spoken by nearly 1 billion people. Our calendar is Rome's calendar, its months named for gods and emperors, July itself still carrying Caesar's name. Beneath modern highways and city grids lie Roman roads and Roman plans, the oldest infrastructure still guiding the new. Rome remains a double lesson of what people can build together and of how power, unchecked, consumes its builders. 27 centuries after a village rose on 7 hills, the road that led from Rome now runs through all of us.